The Texas sun was sinking low, painting the sky in shades of orange and crimson as Cole Dawson drove his black pickup down a lonely stretch of highway. Known across the state as a wealthy ranch owner, Cole had built his empire from nothing. His ranch, one of the largest in Texas, stretched for miles, filled with cattle, horses, and hard-working men who respected him. But despite his success, the quiet roads at sunset always reminded him of his humble beginnings. That evening, as dust trailed behind his truck, something unusual caught his eye. Near an abandoned gas station stood an old, rusted sedan with one flat tire. The car looked like it hadn't moved in weeks. Cole would normally have kept driving. Strangers' problems were rarely simple, but something made him slow down. As he pulled closer, he noticed movement inside the vehicle. A woman sat in the driver's seat, her face pale and tired. In the back seat, two small children lay curled under thin blankets. One of them coughed softly. The windows were slightly fogged from the heat trapped inside. It didn't look like a quick roadside stop. It looked like they were living there. Cole's chest tightened. He parked his truck a few feet away and stepped out, his boots crunching against gravel. He adjusted his cowboy hat and approached carefully, not wanting to alarm them. The woman stiffened when she saw him, her protective instinct instantly visible as she shifted slightly to shield the children. "Ma'am," Cole said gently, keeping his voice calm. "You all right?" She hesitated before answering. "We're fine," she replied, though her trembling voice said otherwise. Cole glanced at the flat tire and the nearly empty gas station behind them. The place had been closed for years. No food, no water, no help nearby. The nearest town was miles away. "You've been here long?" he asked. The woman looked down, ashamed. "A few days," she whispered. But Cole could tell it had been longer. One of the children stirred awake, a little boy with messy hair and wide, uncertain eyes. He stared at Cole silently, not with fear, but with exhaustion. The sight hit Cole harder than he expected. For a brief moment, he was no longer a millionaire rancher. He was a 10-year-old boy again, standing beside his widowed mother, wondering how they would pay their bills after his father died. He remembered the hunger, the embarrassment, the nights when hope felt distant. He cleared his throat, pushing the memories aside. "Car trouble?" he asked softly. The woman nodded. And more than that, there was a story there, one filled with hardship. Cole could see it in her tired eyes. He didn't know the details yet, but he knew one thing for certain: this wasn't just about a broken tire. As the last light of day faded behind the horizon, Cole realized this encounter wasn't an accident. Something had placed him on this road at this exact moment. And he wasn't going to drive away. Cole stood beside the old sedan as the evening air grew cooler. The wind carried dust across the empty highway, wrapping the scene in silence. He could tell the woman was debating whether to trust him. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, as if letting go would mean losing the last bit of control she had. "My name's Cole Dawson," he said gently. "I own the Dawson Ranch a few miles west of here. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to help." The woman studied him carefully. His clothes were clean but simple: jeans, boots, button-down shirt, and a worn cowboy hat. He didn't look dangerous. He looked concerned. "I'm Elena," she finally said. Her voice was soft but tired. "These are my kids, Mateo and Sofia." The little girl in the back seat peeked out from under her blanket. She couldn't have been older than 6. Mateo, who looked about 9, sat up straighter, trying to appear brave. Cole gave them a small nod. "What happened?" Elena swallowed hard. For a moment, it seemed like she might refuse to answer. But perhaps it had been too long since anyone had asked. "My husband passed away last year," she began quietly. "Construction accident. He was the only one working." Her voice cracked, but she forced herself to continue. "The medical bills, the rent, everything piled up. I tried to keep up, I really did. I found part-time work cleaning houses, but it wasn't enough." She paused, staring at the cracked dashboard in front of her. "We were evicted 2 months ago. I used our savings to fix this car so we could at least have somewhere to sleep. I've been applying for jobs every day. But without a permanent address." She shook her head. "No one calls back." Cole felt anger rising, not at her, but at the unfairness of it all. Life could change in a single moment. He knew that better than anyone. "The kids?" he asked gently. Elena's eyes filled with tears. They haven't been in school for 3 weeks. I couldn't register them without paperwork. I keep telling them it's temporary." Her voice broke. "But I don't know how much longer I can keep saying that." Silence settled between them. The sun had now completely disappeared, leaving only a faint purple glow in the sky. The temperature was dropping quickly. Cole walked a few steps away, taking off his hat and running a hand through his hair. He remembered sleeping in his family's truck once when he was a boy, after they lost their farm for a short time. He remembered promising himself that if he ever made it out, he would never forget what it felt like. He turned back to Elena. "You shouldn't be out here tonight," he said firmly but kindly. "It's not safe. And those kids need a bed. A real one." Elena looked at him, fear and hope battling in her expression. "We don't want charity," she whispered. Cole met her eyes steadily. "Good," he replied. "Because I'm not offering charity." He paused. "I'm offering a chance." Elena stared at Cole, unsure if she had heard him correctly. "A chance," she repeated cautiously. Cole nodded. The highway was nearly dark now, and the only light came from his truck's headlights cutting through the evening air. "I've got a guest house on my ranch," he explained. "It's small, but it's clean. 2 bedrooms, running water, a kitchen. It's been sitting empty for months." Elena's fingers tightened around the steering wheel again. "Why would you do that for us?" she asked quietly. Cole didn't answer right away. He glanced at Mateo and Sophia in the back seat. They were watching him closely, their young faces filled with silent questions. "Because I know what it's like," he finally said. "When I was a kid, my family lost everything for a while. If someone hadn't stepped in to help us back then, I wouldn't be where I am today." Elena looked down. Pride and desperation wrestled inside her. "We can't pay rent," she admitted. "Not right now." "I'm not asking you to," Cole replied calmly. "But I do need help at the ranch office. Paperwork, organizing invoices, answering calls. It's honest work. I'll pay you a fair salary." Elena blinked in surprise. "You'd hire me? If you're willing to work," he said. "And I have a feeling you are." For a long moment, the only sound was the wind brushing against the old car. Elena looked back at her children. Mateo whispered something to his sister, and Sophia gave a small hopeful smile. "It sounds too good to be true," Elena said softly. Cole stepped back slightly, giving her space. "You don't have to decide this second. But it's getting cold. And that tire's not going to fix itself." As if on cue, Sophia began coughing again. The sound echoed in the quiet night. Elena's composure cracked. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she covered her face briefly. "I just want them to be safe," she whispered. "They will be," Cole said firmly. He walked to his truck and grabbed a flashlight and a spare blanket. He handed the blanket to Mateo through the open window. "For the ride," he said gently. "It's about 15 minutes to my ranch." Elena stepped out of the car for the first time. She looked small under the wide Texas sky, but there was strength in her posture. "If this is a mistake," she began. "It's not," Cole interrupted softly. "You're not asking for a handout. You're accepting an opportunity." After a deep breath, Elena nodded. Cole helped attach a temporary spare tire from his truck so they could drive safely. Mateo insisted on helping, and Cole showed him how to tighten the bolts properly. For the first time that evening, the boy smiled. Soon, the old sedan followed behind Cole's pickup down the dark highway. As the lights of the Dawson Ranch appeared in the distance, Elena felt something unfamiliar rising in her chest. Hope. And for the first time in months, the future didn't feel completely lost. The first morning at the ranch felt unreal to Elena. She woke up in a real bed, under a warm roof, with sunlight streaming gently through clean curtains. For a moment, she panicked, unsure of where she was. Then she heard it, the distant sound of horses neighing and cattle moving across open land. It wasn't the noise of traffic or the uneasy silence of an abandoned gas station. It was peace. Sophia was still asleep, hugging a soft pillow, while Mateo stood by the window staring wide-eyed at the wide Texas field stretching endlessly into the horizon. "Mom," he whispered, "is this really where we're staying?" Elena swallowed the lump in her throat. "For now," she said softly. But for the first time in months, "for now," didn't feel like a lie. Later that morning, Cole showed her the ranch office. It was organized but busy, ledgers stacked neatly, phones ringing occasionally, schedules pinned to a large board on the wall. He explained the basics patiently, never once making her feel incapable. "You'll learn fast," he assured her. "Just take it one step at a time." And she did. Within weeks, Elena found herself settling into a routine. She woke early, prepared breakfast in the small guest house kitchen, then walked to the office while the children boarded the ranch's school transport into town. Cole had personally spoken to the school principal to ensure Mateo and Sofia were enrolled smoothly. They returned each afternoon with stories about new friends and homework assignments. The change in them was almost immediate. Mateo no longer carried that guarded, protective look in his eyes. He laughed more freely, even helping the ranch hands feed the horses after school. Sofia's cough disappeared, replaced by cheerful chatter about her teacher and art projects. Cole kept his distance at first, not wanting them to feel watched or pitied. But slowly, the family became part of the ranch's rhythm. Ranch workers greeted Elena warmly. The cook sent over extra pies. The place that once felt intimidating now felt welcoming. One evening, as the sun dipped below the fields, Cole found Elena sitting on the porch of the guest house. "You've done good work," he said, leaning against the wooden railing. "The office hasn't run this smoothly in years." Elena smiled. "You gave me a chance." Cole shook his head. "You earned it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching Mateo teach Sofia how to skip stones near the small pond. "I don't know how to thank you," Elena said quietly. Cole looked out at the land he had spent years building. For the first time in a long while, it felt fuller, not because of wealth or success but because of connection. "You don't," he replied. "Just promise me something." "What?" "When you're strong enough," he said, "help someone else the same way." Elena nodded, her eyes shining. In saving one family, Cole had rediscovered something he thought he'd lost long ago. The simple truth that real wealth isn't measured in land or money. It's measured in lives changed.